Hey there, toy collector friends and Orville fans alike. Yes, I am the Triple TC, that's the time traveling toy collector. Welcome back to the channel. And today I'm looking at this. It's the XL version of the Eaglemoss ECV-197. That is the Orville Starship as it appeared in the TV series, the Orville. And it's a ship, I must admit, I got into the TV series, the Orville, quite late. But once I got into it, I fell in love. So I really hope there's more of that to come in the future. But yeah, absolutely, this is a beautiful ship. And of course, like many people, I kind of missed the boat. Let me just rotate it around for you a little bit while I'm talking. I kind of missed the boat on it when it first was released by Eaglemoss and Hero Collector. And then of course, it went the way of so many things. It was unavailable, it wasn't around, and then it was available in the secondary market, and the secondary market was an expensive market. But amazingly, Master Replicas, who, as I think you're probably very well aware by now if you're following this channel, and many other channels, got hold of some of their stock and have been in a position to get their stock redistributed and available to us over here in the UK. And I was very fortunate enough to be in a position to pre-order a re-release of this. So I say re-release, but the release of some of the stock that was being held of this model. I don't know if I can say it's in scale with some of their XL Star Trek ships, but it certainly is on a par with the highest quality of some of their Star Trek ships. And I'm thinking particularly the XL Enterprise ranges. But it's a really, really beautiful ship. And the level of detailing is, to my mind at least, absolutely excellent. Again, this was not secondary market prices, so I think it was in the region of about £50, give or take, all in. I can't tell you exactly how much it was, but definitely in the region of £50. I mean, it's not because I'm not allowed to tell you. I just can't remember. But it was definitely in the region of £50. And I think for £50. This is really lovely for £50 now. I think when Eaglemoss first released it, it was probably a little bit cheaper, maybe, but this certainly is I would suggest very appropriate for this particular ship. So it does come, as you can see there, in sort of the standard Eaglemoss, with the standard sort of Eaglemoss Hero Collector stand, a translucent stand on a black circular plastic base. With the clips that I'm such a non-fan of, in terms of you've got to hope and pray that you get the central gravity just right so that the whole thing doesn't tip. Particularly with this, because it's quite lengthy and it does have quite a bit of weight at the front. I know there's sort of 3 engine, well, the Orville equivalent of nacelles really at the back there, but they're quite light compared to the front, so that I was a little bit thinking, oh my goodness me, please be able to take it if I start maneuvering you around. So let me get this up in hand, and then you can actually have a look at this. As I say, if you are interested in picking one of these up, check out Master Replicas. I'll just sort of get that off that there. Again, yep, it is quite a weighty piece. It's a weighty piece, but let's get in and look at that surface detailing, which is really what we're here for. And you can see on this side it isn't symmetrical completely, because on this side we've got the registry, which is the ECV-197 Orville. You can see that there. But as we pan along, you can see the bridge there, that beautiful detailing, and ever so slight different paint apps. There's some nice blue highlights along with some silver highlights across the hull. You can see here, just about, if I show you here, there is some blue detailing around these indented sections. Again, it's a little bit sad because they're not quite on point, they're not quite on target. They're far better, if you can see, on this side, where they've managed to get them pretty much lined up over here. Actually here quite, but here sadly not quite lined up, which is, you know, in some ways it's almost a nostalgic nod to Eaglemoss, that we can lament has moved on. But it's a bit frustrating, but it's very nice that they have managed it elsewhere, which of course is, I say it's very nice, it's what you're paying for. But you can see that sort of neck section, if it is a neck, if we can call it that, beautifully detailed, some excellent surface detailing there as we move towards the rear of the ship. And these sweeping nacelles. And again, what you can't possibly see when I did the rotation is the lovely blue detailing on their engine pieces there, which is really nice. Really nice, as it takes the Orville into uncharted space and new adventures, etc. So let's come back the other side, and then we'll turn the ship over, and you can see the ship from the underside. So there again, you can see the paint apps there, much better aligned. I think we can all agree. But yeah, it's a really nice ship. It doesn't have, I know I mentioned about the weighting being more to the front. It isn't heavy overall. It's not a very heavy model, but you can feel that the majority of the weight, that's the underside, is there at the front. There's no magazine available with it, unfortunately, so I can't really comment much on the design. I do love how they've done it though, and how they've captured it. It is really well done. Let me turn it around and do just like a very nice aerial shot with the lighting there. And I just think that whole front section really does look beautifully detailed. Yeah, let me pop it back into the stand, he says, making it sound like it's easy. It isn't difficult, but it just can at times present its own set of problems. There we go, it's in. We can all breathe that we managed to get it in safely. Again, those sort of, I want to call them sort of pylons. That's not right. I'm sure there's an absolutely in-universe name for them, but let's sort of call them the Orville nacelles, because I don't know what the in-universe name is. Please, if you do know, pop it in the comments below, and I'd be very grateful. Whilst you're doing that, you can also do a cheeky like for the video, as well as subscribe to the channel, which, you know, doesn't cost you a penny, costs you 5 seconds of your life. And I'll be very grateful, and it means a lot, an absolute huge amount to the channel. But yeah, so these sections at the back, I would say, are the model's vulnerability. You can really feel that a bit of a knock, a bit of a jar may actually damage those. I could see them coming off quite easily. And again, like a lot of Eaglemoss products, the original Eaglemoss products, I know that there's now been some licensing been awarded to some other model makers across several of the Eaglemoss properties, or what were their property licenses, like Doctor Who, Star Trek, etc. And they're coming soon. That's great, but I understand also they're not going to revisit some of the classic Eaglemoss molds, so that those items that are in people's collections already retain their, and I'm going to use the word value. I think I mentioned this in an earlier video as well. Value, I think, is a tricky word to use in this context, because I don't know the level of financial value. Certainly I value them as really excellent pieces in my collection, but I suppose equally, if you are going to see the number of these and similar out in the wild, as it were, they are only going to reduce as people do knock them, break them, etc. So yeah, I can understand how there might be an appreciation of the value as time moves on, which is, you know, great if that's what you're collecting them for. But again, it does underline the importance of making sure that you do look after these, and do remember that Whilst they are wonderful, they're very, very good for model shots and for some photography opportunities. They will not tolerate any kind of rough play, if you know what I mean. So any children who might be interested in your collection picking them up, I would advise A, against it, or B, at the very least, heavily supervised. But that's just me. But yeah, I think there's a high risk that they could get broken very easily. But such is life. That's the dice we roll, I suppose. So, does the Orville deserve a slot on your shelf? Well, I have to say I'm very, very pleased that I got it. I tried a few times to get it once Master Replicas were saying they had some stock in, and I think twice I missed it, and it was the third time. I think it was when they actually said it's the last restock we're going to get of this. I think, but again, don't quote me, because that may have been a more general comment about some of the other items, but I think it was. I was literally poised, refresh, waiting to get access to the website, which I did, and I think part of that was due to the fact that I've signed up to their collectors club, which is about 80 odd quid a year, but it gives you some early access to stuff that they are releasing. So I mentioned earlier, I was able to pre-order ahead of the drop being announced on their main website, for which I'm eternally grateful, and here it is. So for me, definitely has a slot on my shelf, and I'm very, very glad that I was able to collect it. If you're a fan of the Orville, if you're a fan of spaceships in general and spaceship design, I think it's a really interesting design. I really like the sort of the three banded warp nacelle things that form the engine array for the Orville. And again, we've talked about it already, but I really like some of that surface detailing. Again, a shame there's a little bit of inaccuracy in some of the paint apps, but there's an awful lot of accuracy elsewhere. Is it entirely screen accurate? Are Eaglemoss ever entirely screen accurate? I think it's a very valiant attempt, and as far as I'm concerned, it's as screen accurate as I would expect it to be for the price point. And given that, as I've mentioned, on the secondary market, some of these are ridiculously expensive. Certainly it isn't good enough for some of those prices, but when there's no other option, that's what people will pay. So again, that's something to take into consideration. So keep your eyes out, go and check out Master Replicas website and their Twitter account. Follow them there, because they do often have drops of things that we may have thought were out of reach, thanks to time and circumstances taking them from us, but occasionally they can surprise us. I'm not affiliated with Master Replicas, I'm just one of their customers. I'm just sharing that because I know sometimes people get frustrated that they can't find things they wanted to get their hands on, and it's an opportunity that you might once again be able to do so. Anyway, thank you for staying with me the last 14 or so minutes. I'll stick a couple of shots of this as ever at the end of the video. I do hope you've taken an opportunity to like the video. I hope you also subscribe to the channel. It would be lovely to have you along for future videos, and why not have a shifty around? There'll be some other things I'm sure that will capture your attention. If you are a fan of the Orville or models like this, then do check out some of the Star Trek models, Battlestar Galactica models, and similar elsewhere in playlists on my channel. Thanks very much for your time. I appreciate it. You've been a fantastic audience. I have been the Triple TC, that is the Time Travelling Toy Collector, and this has been the XL edition of the ECV-197 Orville, as appearing in the TV series The Orville. And it just remains for me to say that a thing of beauty really is a toy forever. Take care, and I look forward to seeing you in a future or past video. Bye-bye for now.